Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and some of you that are regular viewers, you saw back about a month ago, I did as a part of my, I called it the 35 millimeter shootout series. I included the Tamron 45 millimeter as providing a metric for the new Tamron VC primes. Didn't have the 35 millimeter on hand. In one of those segments, we examined autofocus quality or autofocus consistency as well. And as you recall, if you watched that video, the Tamron disappointed me in its performance. I just recently acquired it, and it's my actual own copy of the lens. I had reviewed the lens previously, but I didn't feel like the lens was performing up to the spec of the review copy that I'd had. And so I thought at that stage that maybe I just didn't have it calibrated properly. But as I continued to try to calibrate that copy, I just found that AFMA was a moving target on me. And so eventually I felt like I just wasn't getting proper autofocus performance for it. And so I contacted Tamron and sent it back to them for replacement. And after they checked out the lens, they agreed with me and they sent me a new copy, which I've got here. And so I spent time in calibrating this copy. And of course, it's a little bit longer process for me for lenses that I own because I have a number of camera bodies, and so I need to calibrate it on all of them. And as I've said previously, I certainly won't keep a lens in my kit if it won't autofocus consistently. If I don't feel like I can rely on it, I don't keep it in my personal kit because I can't stand losing shots to missed autofocus. And so I'm fairly stringent in my, and I'm a pixel peeper without apology. I want things to be focused right, and I want to be able to depend on the lens. You know, at first my enthusiasm for the lens had waned a bit, particularly with the first copy that I got to own, because if autofocus is not nailed, it really doesn't matter how sharp a lens is. And this, by the way, is an extremely sharp lens. It's one of the most highly resolving 50 millimeter-ish lenses that exist. So it's excellent in that regard. But if focus isn't nailed, it doesn't matter how sharp a lens is, images still look like garbage. And so as a result, my enthusiasm had started to wane because the lens wasn't performing to its potential, and so images would look a little bit soft and so that resolution gets masked by that. And of course, it also exaggerates flaws like chromatic aberrations. If focus is off, then you have some chromatic aberration sometimes on your main subject, a little bit of that haziness that comes from missed focus. So anyway, it was really kind of bumming me out about this lens. I'm happy to say that after some time spent calibrating it, my results are now incredibly accurate and up to the standard I'm looking for. And all of a sudden, I'm in love with the lens again. I've been using it for some events recently, and while the autofocus is not as quick as what I would like optimally for shooting events, the end result is that I'm going through dozens and sometimes hundreds of shots, and I'm not really finding hardly any that are misfocused. And so that's fantastic to me. In fact, now that the focus is dialed in on my bodies, it's really, really accurate. So I'm happy to share that as an update to you because, if you do purchase a copy and you don't seem to be getting the focus results that you want, spend some time in calibration, and if you don't get it done, then talk to Tamron and get it straightened out, because I believe that you can get a copy of this lens or the 35 millimeter VC that will focus consistently and accurately for you. And so I'm happy to give you this update to let you know that I'm now very pleased with the performance of the 45 millimeter VC. We're going to run the test again, and that it kind of failed at before, and we'll take a look at the results overall, but I'm very confident that you will see a much better performance out of this lens. At the 5 foot distance, we got a much better result at infinity 4 that were perfectly focused, 1 very slightly missed, and then from minimum focus, again, 4 perfect and 1 extremely slight. It was at the medium 10 foot distance that our first test, the troubles really showed up, with only 1 properly focused at infinity and 4 at minimum. This time we got a perfect performance all around that I'm delighted in. At the maximum 20 foot distance, it is a little bit more difficult to determine results, but it seemed like I had 1 that was very, very slightly misfocused, but within the range of appropriate focus. Otherwise, the results were extremely consistent. And so, as you can see in our second edition of the test for this lens with the new copy, we got much more satisfactory, much more consistent results, both when the lens was focused towards infinity before bringing back to proper focus, and then when it was defocused to minimum focus distance before focusing. On that, I just let you know that I use the Rican Focal program for doing a calibration, and I run it quite a few times to make sure I'm getting a consistent result. If you own the Pro version of that program, as I do, it actually gives you an option in the options menu to choose whether you want to defocus in between shots, defocus towards infinity or defocus towards minimum focus. I like to run that program in both directions, and so to make sure that I'm getting a consistent result both when the lens is defocused towards minimum or focused towards infinity before coming back to proper focus, because I want it to be reliable in a variety of situations. So having the right AFMA value makes a huge difference in how consistently a lens will focus on your particular camera body. So I highly recommend that you spend the time and so that you get the best bang for your buck out of your lenses, as I do. I'm Dustin Abbott. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Have a great day.